All right. Today's Daf Kuf Zayin. We're holding the top of Kuf Zayin, 6 lines down. Omer Papa. Yeah? You there? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvaroi. Omer Papa. Hayariso d'daloi ein noitnem mimeno liyadayim. In those days, they had a pipe that would go to the fields and water the fields. How did they fill up the pipe? By hand. They would fill up a pail of water, pour it into the pipe, and it would be gravity fed to the fields. Now you want to stick your hands into the pipe as the water is going by, and similar to our pipes today, let's say. Not 100%, but water is flowing, you want to stick your hand. Now, on the one hand, you started the whole process. You poured the water. So there's a koyach gavra. It started from a human being pouring the water. But as we learned, remember we learned, where was it? Maybe in Menachah somewhere, about the water mill. The koyach gavra at a certain point stops. In other words, my power, when I pour the water into the pipe, so my power lasts for a meter, 2 meters. How much force do I have in my power? At a certain point, gravity takes over. So all the Gemara is saying here is that when I put my hands into the water, when it's for my force, then it's kosher. But once gravity takes over, I cannot wash my hands with that water. Is that
why you can't wash your hands in the sink?
Correct. And if you wash your hands very close to the point of where the water hit the pipe, in other words, it's still from your force, so you wash your hands from it. Now here is the source where we wash our hands. Is there anybody here that washes their hands 3 times on each hand for netilas yadayim, for hamoitzi?
They're wet.
You do. If your hands were wet to begin with?
Just dry.
So Tosfos says over here, it's a Tosfos Diramaskal Deloy, towards the bottom of it, and he says you're supposed to wash your hands 3 times. 1 time to remove the dirt that you have on your hands, 1 time to remove tumah, and 1 time to remove the water that removed the tumah. Because the water that touches your hands, when they're tummy, remains on your hands, so you have to remove that water. The Vilna Gaon says, for instance, I wash my hands 4 times on each hand when I wake up in the morning, because halacha says 3. But the Vilna Gaon says, but the 3rd time, the water is still on your hand, that's tummy, you got to get rid of that. 3 times is good to get the tumah off, but what about the water that touched? Fine. This is the Rishonim say. His svara is Tosfos, the Rishonim. Now the Rosh agrees with Tosfos. It doesn't come off. You need a metayr to the water. That's how they say it. The Rosh says like Tosfos also, but the Rosh says, if your hands are not dirty, like our hands today, they're not filthy, so all you need to wash your hands is 2 times. Once for the tumah, and 1 to remove the tumah. So this is the source. We do it like this. We know from when we were kids. We go 2 times. Why? 1 to remove the tumah, and 1 to remove the water that became tummy, removing the tumah. Oh, so if you have a full revius, then they say it's okay. But at the end of the day, the Mishnah Berurah says, and he brings the I forgot it, the Kaf HaChaim or somebody, that in our days, you should wash twice on each hand.
For bread.
For bread we're talking about, not in the morning for Ruach Tumah, that's something else, that's 3 times. Because there's Rishonim that still say that even after the Revi'us, you need to pour a little bit more to get rid of that. Those are other Rishonim that say that it's a real big problem to have that water, even a Revi'us. A Revi'us is a mikvah, it is mitahir, but you need to get rid of that water.
What's the origin of alternating?
Oh, that I don't know.
They say if the person is
What you just said is not 100% correct. You're talking about in the morning. In the netilas yadayim, you don't go back and forth. You do 1-1, 1-1. So you start from your right hand because it's right. So you do the revius and then get rid of that revius. You don't alternate. That's in the morning. That's already. What do you say, Zohar?
They say it's Persian.
Okay. Yeah, but for netilas yadayim, you don't really alternate. You go 1-1. I think it's probably better not to alternate. because now you're messing up the water, you're touching with your tummy hand, you're touching the kli again, and I don't know. I think it could be an issue. I think you just go 1-1. Fine. Now the Gemara says a very interesting trick. You want to connect your river, you have a river next to you, and you have this pipe that flows to your field, and you want to be able to use the water in your pipe. I have a trick. How? I make a connection, a water connection from the pipe to the river. How do I do that? I have a pail full of water, and there's it. And the water has a stream coming out of the hole, like a little stream. That stream touches the river, and it keeps on touching the river. And then when I pour this into the pipe, there's a one connection. So if it were to be electricity, you would actually get fried because there's a connection. It just continues. There's a constant stream of water that goes from the river into your pail, and from your pail into the pipe. The pipe doesn't have 40 sa, so you can't do tevilas yadayim. You want to do netilos yadayim in there, and it would work if you have this connection to the river. Let's see it inside. Now, there's one, for this trick to work, the hole has to be a certain size. It can't just have water seeping out. It has to be large enough that water could seep in. You see, if you have a kli that has a tiny pinhole in it and it seeps water, that doesn't necessarily mean that water could get in. Water could get out, but it can't get in. So in order for water to get in, it needs to be a larger hole. That if you sink it into the water would seep upwards into it. That needs to be a large hole. That's the size of the stream of water that we're talking about. Not just a drip. Says the Gemara, V'i bezia davlo bekoines mashka. If it's a koines mashka, the water could go into the kli because the hole is so large, melef laifi, then it can make a connection, umat bilbas yadayim, and then you could be toivel your hands in the water in the pipe because it's considered as if you're being toivel your hands in a river, right? We said yesterday, tvilas yadayim is just as good as netilas yadayim. You don't have to wash your hands. You could dunk your hands in a mikvah, and that's also good enough for tefillah. I guess if you're on a trip, you could just dunk them in the river. You don't have to take water out of the river and go like this. Yeah, okay, I've never done it, and I think, take the water out, and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, you could do a tvilas yadayim. Al tvilas yadayim.
You have to do it 3 times.
No, I guess when it comes to tvila, you wouldn't have to do it 2-3 times.
Just once.
You just stick it in like a regular mikvah. V'amar Rava, if you're Hasidish, you do it 7 times. You do the 7 tefillas.
No,
Yeah.
you stick your whole stuff in and go like this.
Really? That's not a real. That's not. I've never. You've seen it
A million times.
like this. I've never seen this.
This last Friday, this guy was getting the mikvah and he's like, and I started spritzing him back.
What exactly did you spritz? His finger? His body's inside the mikvah. So what are you spritzing here?
Listen, like,
If you're already talking about what are you doing, I have to tell you this. I was sitting downstairs. No, right here in this building. I'm davening shachris. I'm davening Shemoneh Esrei. The whole shul is davening Shemoneh Esrei. This guy goes Shema Yisrael, b'koil koilos, and I'm like, no, Shah Hashem, like, whatever. Okay, it's the same guy, I think. B'amar Rava. Kli shenika b'koinos mashka. So now we're already talking about the guy that has a hole in his kli. What kind of washing cup can you use? What are the shiurim? We're talking about the gishmaka stuff, no day-to-day stuff here. So a kli that has a hole in it, that water can go upwards into it, it's possible. V'amar Rava. Kli she'ein b'revi'is. If your washing cup doesn't have a revi'is, so now the Gemara explains what he's talking about. Eini v'amar Rava kli she'ein machzik revi'is. The only thing is that it has to be able to hold a revi'is. If it's large enough that it could have a revi'is, even if it doesn't have a revi'is, it's enough. Loi kashya, halechad, halitrei. Amazing. Rava says as follows: when you start off washing your hands, you need to have a revi'is in the cup. Okay, that's everybody agrees to. Now, if two people are washing from the one cup, then the second guy doesn't have to have a revius because you started out, Mr. A started out with a revius, so he can leave over nothing in his cup from number two guy to wash his hands. All right? So when you start out, you need a revius. That's pashut.
Why do you need revius?
Why do you need a revius? Because it's a mikveh. Revius is a metayr.
Not to remove the chumah.
No, that's what the Gemara is saying here. I don't know where does it say here. It says a lashon that you'll see later, I think. Oh, mishiyori tahara. You'll see like 6 lines down. The revius is a metayr. It's a mikveh. So once you have a mikveh in your kli, so now you use it, I use it. I'm using the leftover of the tahara. That's how he learns. I hear what you're saying. It's a good aura, but at the end of the day, that's what Rava says. The Sanya, may revius noitlim. You could use one revius even for 2 people. So Rav Sheshes asked Ameimar these 2 halachas that we just said plus a third one. Are you makbid on not having a hole in your kli? Of course, you can't have a hole in your kli.
Is that what he's asking?
What?
Is he asking whether there's a hole in the kli?
Yeah. What else is there? If it's a kli, it's a kli.
Or maybe you just makbid, are you makbid to use a kli at all?
No. That's pashut. More halacha that it can't have any kind of coloring in it. Ikadamri, some want to say, but we go away from this. I care about a kli that shouldn't have a hole in it, and I care about coloring. Ashir loy kabdinan. I don't care about a revius. The sanyo me revius nothing leyadayim left b'afilu shtayim. You see that 2 people can wash from one revius. That means I could also use even less than a revius. V'loihi, that's not true. Shani hasam what? Shani hasam mishum dekasim shiari tahara. Where we said that 2 people could use it is because we started out with a revius, so the second guy doesn't need to have a full revius. But of course, you need to start out with a revius, and that seems to be the halacha here. Asking Rav Yaakov ben Arpkoid not lobas revius. Rav Yaakov an Amoira in his city, he had in the Bezdin, wherever it was, Rabbi said, this is revius. And if anybody wants to come, measure your kli against my kli, you should know this is revius. Asking Ravashi buhutzul kuzo bas reviasa. He did the same thing, Ravashi, that people can measure and know what a revius is. What's the shir today of a revius? What, like some millimeter, like something like this? No. Chazanish, let's say.
86 cc.
86 cc. So how many cups? How many? What is this? How many cc is this cup?
180.
180. So it's half of this. Less than half. Huh. Here's the interesting deal. So of course you could do that. What's the big chiddush?
He says it works.
You could fix it and it could work. Taisa says that's not a chiddush. The chiddush. There's another halach. Let's say you have a cone that's meant to drink from. Okay, you have these kind of nice glasses that they don't have a bottom. They fit into some sort of ring.
Correct.
Right?
They use it in factories.
They don't want people to.
People leaving them around. So you can't put them down.
Very nice. Okay, they actually use them today. You're saying great.
They have them in the doctor's offices.
Correct. All those paper pointy cups. Those what do they call them? The planes. They're all pointy. Fine. These cups, if they're real cups, then they're made for water. They're good as long as you have some sort of machzik, and it's okay. Now, Tosis says we're talking about a cover of a barrel that looks like a cone. So it's not a real cup. So what you want to do is you want to chop off the bottom to make it into a cup. So that could be a problem. Says the Gemara, it's not an issue because it's made out of wood. It's something that you could use for a cup. However, there's other materials that you can't do this to. The top of the barrel that you fixed, you corrected, you could wash your hands from it. However, if you have a leather flask, here, in case you don't know what it looks like, because today there's 0 pictures. This is the best I could come up with today. Here's a leather flask. I'll show you why I printed it also. This is a chiddush you could use. But what is it made for? This is made to drink water. So what's the chiddush? Even if it can't stand up, okay, fine, you can't go like this. It lays nicely like that. Why?
It's a bag of water.
It's a bag of water. It's made for water. You know, we use this. You go biking, hiking. This is what you use. A flat little thing. So the Taz explains here, very nice, that the chiddush is the two sides of the flask touch each other when it's empty, and that ruins it from a teres kli. So if you masakin it in a way that it could stand up, and you made it proper, then it comes back to be a kli. That was the chiddush. That's how he explains the
They
chiddush.
have those round things. What were they called?
Yeah, but we were talking about a kli. A kli, whether you fill it with the water or not. Is this a kli? Is this considered a proper kli for? It's a chiddush of the Taz.
When Amalek didn't give cholesterol,
This is it, right
When
here.
we were little, we used to go to camp. We used to bring these round
Why is
things.
that?
Yeah,
eh?
canteens.
Canteens.
That's okay because it doesn't fall in.
It
And
doesn't fall on itself.
No, but they had a flat bottom to it, so it
Because
stand
in gin, you
up.
can't see what's inside, so it feels heavy. So when they drank it, they first gave them
Why
salted
not?
fish.
Yeah,
Right.
they had both.
And then they
But the
gave
size
them,
and
here,
texture
drink water, and
are
they
hard.
drink water, and then
They were hard.
there was nothing inside.
Yeah. So you're saying that this is it, right here? That it was so small, the opening.
So you're saying you could not use it for the
You could. The Gemara says you could if you fix it.
Okay,
You have to
but
fix
fix
it.
it. Fix
By
it.
making a stand for it, whatever, you chop off you make it in a way that you could.
Sack v'kupa.
Says the Gemara, sak. Where are we? Sak v'kupa. You have a sack in a box. Afal pishu mekapelim. Right. That's not good. That's a no-no.
Is that okay? It's full of sweat.
No, it's not okay because it's not a kli for water. That's the Mishabur brings that exact
It's
case.
sad, like I said, it's full of sweat.
Well, sweat something else. Who
Kli for
cares?
water.
It's kli. What?
New habit.
You cannot use a yarmulke if you're big. I saw take out from his carry-on a big, washing cup. People are very, very makbid. So imagine this guy with the washing cup on the plane. He's on a trip and he doesn't have his washing. He'll go crazy. Takes off his beater hit and fills it up with water, and boom, boom. You can't do it. It doesn't work. It says over here you can't do it.
Fit the big washing cup in a small sink.
Oh, I don't know how he did it.
He has a shitload.
Yeah, he comes with hello. If he comes with his water thing, he comes with his hose, he comes with the whole thing. The guy comes with the whole, basically his whole carry-on is for washing his hands. Huh? Is it only me seeing these people?
They sell it. It's a special collapsible tissue.
Watch, you're gonna see, now you're gonna notice this guy, you're gonna say, oh, he didn't make it up, fine.
You have one. See? There you go.
That collapses, these water bowl?
Even when they're full.
Yeah, who washes their hands from that? You can't wash your hands from that. Ibailu. Oh, this is the halach l'maisa. When we go on trips, what do? We want to eat that sandwich. We take a little napkin, and we eat a sandwich with it, and you're not supposed to touch the bread. But every time when you want to move the napkin down, because you bite into the napkin, you touch the napkin with the bread a little bit, and then you touch the bread, and that's a big boo-boo. That's a big no-no. So are you allowed to do? No, that's exactly the shayla. Are you allowed to use a napkin because you might touch the bread? Guess what the Gemara says at the end? Are you allowed to, what do you guys think? Are you allowed to use a napkin?
Yes.
No. It's hardly ever mutter to use a napkin. It's like the worst. Gloves is okay?
That's what Shulchan says. You need gloves.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you can put it on a plate and go like this.
No.
No. You need gloves.
Iboilu.
I saw guys on the plane, guys are next week.
The guy in the plane that pulled out his tuna fish sandwich, that guy, he has gloves. After he washes, he wears gloves. Oh, we're going to see the guy. That's Rav. Coming up.
After you toggled in the mikvah.
On the plane.
That's what you go
He brought this giant. Hello? I have the guy. I took a video. I have a video. Whoever wants to see it. A guy daven Shmona Esrei in the aisle with a one-aisle plane. 3 and 3 daven Shmona Esrei in the aisle during breakfast. They couldn't go by because Shmona Esrei. Ma'aser Shahaya. And then he moved the Mil Shmona Esrei. They moved him. They asked him nicely to move. He walked the Mil Shmona Esrei. Whatever reason, it's okay for him because he needs to do 3 back. It's not good enough to just stand. You got to do 3, 4, 5 back. So he stood in the middle of the aisle. I have a video.
They offered him to stand on the wing.
This I have what?
They offered him to stand on the wing.
Basically, I have to look for it. My and then you see, it's, they gave food to Rebbe Tzadok and he ate a smaller piece than a kibeta. It was on Sukkos. He took it with a towel. He didn't even need a sukkah because it's less than a kibetza. And he didn't make a bracha afterwards. So the Mishnah Berurah, by the way, paskins that if you're going to eat a piece of bread that's less than a kibetza, do you wash or you don't wash?
You don't wash.
Very good. You wash without a bracha. That's what the Mishnah Berurah paskins.
But you don't say what?
You don't say al Netilas Yadayim.
Because
The chiyuv of Netilas Yadayim is kibetza. You know that he did three things that are iffy, but it's less than a beitza. He held it with a napkin. He didn't wash, and he didn't make a bracha achroina. Sorry, he didn't. Not forget. That Tais points it out.
Levim, of course, also can.
Mar is going to point out that Levim don't have that thing. Tashma.
It's singing.
The Shmuel Ashkechil Rav the Gehacha b'mapa. Shmuel met the famous Rav in Shmuel. He sees him eating with a napkin. Omar lei, Adin Kedei. What's going on here? How are you eating with a napkin? Omar lei, Daiti Tzar. What do you think? I wash my hands. I wash my hands and I use a napkin. I can't touch this. I'm a mafonik. I'm an istanis. Kisol Rabbi Zero Ashkechinu Rabbi Ami Rabbi Asi the Kachli. He's not even the. What's going on here? Why are you eating with a napkin? And the Ravasi heard the story of Rav and Shmuel, and they figure if Rav might trade Rav give a cycle litu with the Rav the Shmuel, hadaitik sara kamar. You have to know the end of the story. The end of the story is that Rav was istanis and that he did wash his hands. By yelling, his yelling was a mistake. He shouldn't have yelled at them. Why? They a kohen, Reb Ami, Reb Asi were kohanim, and they're allowed to eat with a napkin.
So wait,
The shaila is.
the whole thing is a zeicha of kohanim, we can't use a napkin.
Oh, very good. The Rambam says that. The Rambam with a napkin, and Imam says Yosvar. He says the whole point is that it's a zeicha rach truf. The Yisraelim have to eat wash their hands so that the kohanim get used to eating there. But the kohanim themselves don't have. They could use a napkin. So why are we any worse than them? Similar to the svars that we said. So that's the Rambam. But other Rishonim hold that we cannot. So therefore we don't.
Taisa says that only even the kohanim can only eat it with truma.
Oh,
and not with chulin.
very good. So that's another good point. What is the Gemara talking about here? Is the Gemara talking about that a kohen could always eat without a napkin because he's a zaris? He eats when he eats chicken, but when a kohen eats chulin, he cannot eat it with a napkin. So that's the machlokes Rishonim. Strange idea that when he eats chulin, he can't. Why? Anymore. When you eat, you sure. I have to be careful. But when I eat chocolate, no, I'll be just as bad. I can hear it both ways. Maybe in general they are very careful people. Maybe not.
We have the other sort of Nikias.
Nikias is something else.
The Mishnah brings it.
Yeah, I mean, because the Gemara says, Rabbanan said, Shamu. The Gemara says the one according to Tosfos, it's Nikias
Right.
in Rabbanan.
There's no-
Okay, and no, one more line here. If somebody is makbet to eat chulin b'tahara, he's not a kohen, so he always has to eat by washing his hands. He can't say, "Oh, I'm like a kohen today because I'm eating b'tahara, so I get to use a napkin." So that was his mistake. So at the end of the day, the Rosh says you're not allowed to use the mappa. The Rambam says you could. La halacha.
How are we asking?
What? Oh, la halacha. The Shulchan Aruch says mamish in the shasat chak in the worst case scenario, if you could only if there's no water and 4 mil is 18 minutes. But kitzer, you have to walk like a good hour to get somewhere, and you can't find water. At that point, then you could. Now, if you're in your own house,
And the bathroom is full.
You can't use that bathroom.
why can't you use the bathroom water come out? Don't say. No. Why can't you wash your hands in the bathroom, come out, and make the bracha?
Doesn't help.
It's better to do gloves.
That's because you have to use gloves.
In the plain bathroom.
Really?
In the plain bathroom.
not like a version.
I'm sure that guy fills it up, comes outside, does all.
Whatever says after the flush away.
So what?
Wait like this.
What? Into a tank is the problem. Alright?
You travel with your cup too?
Collapsible toilet. Let's go.
Okay, Iboilu. Gewaltige Kashas, Rabbi said, a beautiful sugya. A guy is feeding another individual for whatever reason. Loyaleno, somebody's in the hospital, he can't eat. You have a feeder and an eater. You have a child and a mother. Somebody's being fed. Who has to wash their hands? The person eating or the person feeding? Is the person touching the bread has to wash his hands?
Only the person touching the bread.
Well, you're saying the exact opposite of what the Gemara says at the end. That's why we have a Gemara.
We haven't got to the end of this one.
And you even have the Irish roll, you know. Okay. Does the guy eating needs to wash his hands? Tashma, the Ravuna bar Schoira have a koy kamei the Rav Amnuna. Balam leum tzavachel. Ravuna bar Schoira forced a piece of meat with Taisus adds. Obviously, we're talking about bread as well, so you have to stick in the word bread. He put a piece of bread into his mouth, and he fed him. Omalei ilav the Rav Amnunat leisafina. So Rav Huna bar Schoira says the only reason why I did it without you washing is because you're Rav Amnuna. My time, because he was very careful. So there's an interesting Rashi here. Rashi says we should see it inside L'chayra. Rashi did a loy, like almost in the middle of the page. Now Rashi says an important yisoid. Zoriz odif mizahir. When the Gemara says that a kohen is a zoriz, that's a higher level than a zahir. Now. Zor sheyideli zor b'shas ma'aser shelo yavar ala mitzvah zor is haroyas hanoilad u'misaken atzmo shelo yovel lekach. So now he's saying that he was a zor. No, I'm sorry. He started off saying you are a zahir. Zahir is a lower level. It means that he's careful. Loi, the zor is called him. Rashi says he's proactive. Rashi takes the two words in the Gemara, he read them like we read them, but he learned from the fact that the Gemara starts off saying Zahir, and then the Gemara switches to careful. No, Zahir means he's Roya the Noilad. Rav Amnuna comes in, what? And this is the Bryson of the Zara, Zihirus, maybe the days Rizus, etc. Exactly. That's what he brings. He brings Zihirus Mivel these Rizus. That it's two levels. The Gemara, by sticking it in without even explaining, meant these two things. That what? Rav Amnuna, I knew you, Rav Amnuna, would know that you're going to get a meal, and because you knew you're going to get a meal, you're going to wash your hands before you show up here. And therefore, I stuffed a piece of bread in your mouth, knowing, without even asking you, that you wash your hands. Toshma, you have a waiter walking around, don't say, hey, you want to eat a piece of bread, and put a piece of bread in his mouth. It seems like, so if we stop right over here, we make a stop, then we have a raya. Do not feed a waiter because hands, meaning that you have to wash your hands, even if you're like this and open up you the eater have to wash your hands. L'chayra, it's a raya.
It's about to die.
Don't worry, it's not gonna die. Make it.
If yes, I have, but how many minutes to do? What does it say?
You're good. 12 minutes. 11 minutes.
Okay. Then what? Now we're going to go to another halacha, not important to our sugya, but important for the Gemara. This is very interesting halacha, Rabbi Isai. If you make a bar priya gofen on a cup of wine, thinking that you're not going to drink it, you're at the end of the bottle, or you're at somebody's house and you're sure the guy is a stingy guy, all he's going to give you is one cup of wine, and then all of a sudden, mysteriously, he pulls out another bottle and says, you have to make another bracha. Why? Because when you made the original bracha, you were sure that you're only making the bracha on one cup. So the bracha is only chal on one cup. Same thing with the waiter. Waiter is like, wow, they gave me a cup of wine. That's all I'm going to get today. And all of a sudden they give him another cup of wine. That's a big chiddush for him. He has to make a bracha on each and every cup.
Is that dafka for wine?
No.
No, here, we go weiter. But when it comes to bread, not. And the Gemara is going to explain if it's different or not. So l'chayr, it seems like it is a difference between wine and everything else. Why? Omer Papa, Bishlam the Rav Rabbi Yochanan Lekashia. There's no contradiction between Rabbi Yochanan. There's no machlokes. Again, it's interesting. This is, I just realized now, this is the Rav Papa that always makes shalom between people. There's no machlokes. So Rav Papa explains it away that if there's a chashuv person that cares about other people, he's going to make sure his waiter is fed one piece of bread, another piece of bread, so the waiter knows I make a bracha now, I'm going to get more bread. The bracha is on all bread. At the end of the day, there's no machlokes. But and the Tanakama says that you have to make a bracha on each and every piece of bread is because there's no adam chashuv that's going to take care of the waiter. You see that the waiter has to wash his hands. Shani shamish the Torah. Don't bring a riot from a waiter because since he's so busy feeding other people, he might use his hand to stuff a piece of bread into his mouth and touch the bread, and that's why. But a normal person that's sick in bed and he's not Torah, so maybe he doesn't have to wash. There's no riot from a shamish. Tana Rabbana. Interesting halacha that do not feed your waiter while the balabais is holding a cup of wine because he might get so upset that you're feeding the waiter, he might not have enough food, he might choke on his wine, or maybe the waiter has a cup of wine in his hand and he might be worried what the balabais is thinking, he might drop it. So at the end of the day, we say that the person eating has to wash his hands. Does the person feeding, does he need? You said he does. Does the person feeding need to wash his hands? Tashma. We're talking about Yom Kippur. A woman should wash one out of her two hands in order to feed her kid. Now, notice only one hand, but a person eating always has to wash two hands. Since she's only the feeder, she could get away with one hand. How? Up until the knuckles. Up until this part, what did he call? What did Dr. Epstein call this?
Proximal interphalangeal joint.
Thank you. Hold on. 1 second. This has to be on video. One more time, Doc.
Proximal and distal
Shkoyach.
That's the name of today's share.
Yeah. If you can repeat it.
Well, Brox for short. The Brox point for short.
Anyways. Amru olav al shamet. Rabbi, you're not going to like the story. Definitely don't say this over to your wives.
Why do we need to wash hands altogether for a child?
Oh, we're going to get there. Mamish now. Yeah, plains it beautifully. Amru olav shamet azokin. I think this is the same. Oh, I just realized. This is the baby in Masechet Sukkah that Shama under his roof for. No, he piches him as he cut open his roof so that his little baby. So this baby grew up. He's 2 years old. He did actually starving because he couldn't give him food because he refused to wash his own hands on Yom Kippur. I'm not going to wash me. The Gazru. No, it was on Yom Kippur. This is a Yom Kippur.
That Shammai fucking wouldn't feed a kid. By
the way, yesterday Nachman asked the question. I told Nachman, he said, how can you bring a raya of that you have to do Ma'achronim from a guy that's a Russia, stole money from Rabbanon? And I saw in the Marsha, he actually brings that it's a different story, similar story in Shas, where the guy was tricked because he didn't wash his mustache, but he was a good guy. He wasn't a Ganav. So the Marsha switches the story because I think the Marsha had Nachman's question, how do you bring a raya? It was just, the other guy was a bad guy. The Ganav noticed that he had something on his mustache and he used it against the guy's wife, and then the guy with the mustache killed his wife. But the guy that killed his wife was a good, he was a perfect guy. He wasn't, yeah.
He killed his mustache.
Omar Abaya. So here's the answer to your question. Hasa mishum shifta. Don't bring me, because we're all shiach the other.
So he wouldn't let his daughter
he didn't wash his own hands in Yom Kippur because you're not allowed to wash your hands in Yom Kippur, and therefore son sat there starving.
He wasn't going to, daughter was going to feed the son.
Daughter, Shammai
the whole question about the baby in Sukkah is talking about he did it so that his daughter's baby, whatever it was.
Oh, that's something else. But
Shammai, he wouldn't.
It's not Sukkah now. We're talking about Yom Kippur.
Why are we talking about Shammai's shul. He's not going to feed the baby.
You're asking a kasha of a mice. The
No,
bottom was
the whole thing. No, it's not a kasha of mice.
you're bringing a kasha from an isha medicha. He was in charge of his baby.
What?
He didn't have a wife. I don't know what happened. He was in charge of his baby. Say Rabbanon, Gozru Olav, Rabbanon said that he must wash both of his hands to show people you wash your hands to feed your kids. Say Abaya Hasam Shum Shifta. He says there's a ruach ra that's on your hands in the morning. Only in the morning. Taisa says, wait a minute, if you have dirty hands in the morning, everybody's always, you can't touch your eye, you can't touch your nose, then it says dirty hands in Yom Kippur, you're allowed to wash. But Taisa says Shifta is something similar but different. Shifta is a disease, it's a ruach ra that kills young children. So if you don't wash your hands in the morning for Shifta, that's why you touch the food and the kid eats the food, he could die from Shifta. Now,
So then it comes out that the male doesn't need to wash.
only in the morning. The morning he has to wash his hands. But once he washes his hands in the morning, the machal doesn't have to anymore because the only issue, according to this. Tashma, listen to this Gevaldik Maisa. Shmuel's father sees little Shmuel come home. I don't know how old he was, but he was a very young child. He's crying. He says, what happened? I'm crying because my he touched me. How dare you feed my child food without you yourself washing? So he patched him not because he misbehaved, because he didn't know the halacha. He did the wrong thing within his time. So Shmuel's father is his son. And why didn't you wash? He says, this guy's going to eat, and I have to wash my hands. Let him wash his hands. So Shmuel's father said, this Rebbe doesn't. Not only is it not bad enough that he's Am Haaretz, he doesn't know the halacha. Mimcha nami machi. He hits my child. I just remember a guy in my neighborhood beat me up, and my father said, "Why did you hit him?" So the guy says, "Because I hold like Reb Chaim Na when it comes to chinuch. I hold Reb Chaim Na in chinuch." So my father says, "You should use your Reb Chaim Na on your own children. Why are you using it on my child?" I have no idea, but you beat up Stefansky. Even the Chazon Ish would be asking that Reb Chaim Na. At the end of the day, person eating, but the person feeding doesn't eat until Siddam. Says the Mishnah. We learned in the first Mishnah of this paragraph, on the same table, cheese and meat. Says the Mishnah, you're allowed to put cheese bag, but if meat and dairy touch, you have to wash them off. So we're worried that make sure that in what situation, if they're moist, not moist, there's a whole need on what the situation is. If you're anyways going to wash it off because it's raw, it's not an issue. Because they will never share food with each other, and there's no chash that you're going to grab some of his Dorito, cheese, whatever things while you're eating your burger. There's a beautiful musik here in the Gemara. So what if they're touching each other? Cold meat and cold cheese are allowed to touch. You don't have to take off a whole layer. You certainly need hadacha, and therefore, since he might forget, they're not allowed to touch. It's only two guests that came to one place. They come from different places. This comes with his meat, this comes with his dairy. If they're eating one sandwich, then it's also. Look at that, they're eating one sandwich. Meaning they don't know each other. That's one shot in Taisus. So over here, Taisus says, he points out in the middle of Taisus, the last Taisus, that's what you said 2-3 days ago. The concept comes of making a hecker on the table. You put a piece of bread as long as you don't eat the bread. Or you put a jug of water as long as you know water for water. Jug and bread is separate. Yes, but we got to go weiter. Says the Gemara, Two brothers that hate each other, can they eat on the same? So here's the unbelievable aside for all of Shas. There's a concept called Usriki Baitus Mutarim. Usriki Baitus Mutarim. The halacha is you're not allowed to make designs on a matzah because by the time you finish your beautiful design, it's going to be chametz. Comes Baitus to Chacham, says, I have a mold, I have a press, I have a stamp. I can do it in 1 second. Can I make a design on my matzah? I go like this, boom, it's over. There's no problem with chametz. So they said to him, but everybody's going to say, what, you're allowed to make designs and nobody else is allowed to make designs? So too, when it comes to brothers, you're going to say, you two brothers are allowed to eat on the same table. Nobody's going to know that they're brothers with each other. The same way that nobody knows that the guy has a special design machine. In other words, loiplog. If somebody unfortunately only has one garment, he's allowed to wash it on Chalamayid. But nobody knows that he only has one garment. Says the Gemara, everybody knows he only has one garment. You have a belt in the loops. If you only have one garment, you don't take it out when you wash it. You leave the belt in the loops and you wash it with the belt. If you have a bunch of other garments, you remove the belt so you can use it on your other garments. So when people see you washing your garment with the belt, they say, "Oy nebach, he only has one garment." And that's wash it on Chalamayid. What?
What are you wearing while you're washing?
Oh, there is another garment, and they go into it. And Taisus says that he's wearing that other garment. According to Taisus, it works out well.
Yeah. Look at this.